Let us execute an immediate, sweeping analytical vector shift away from the isolated maritime channels of Santa Catalina Island and plunge straight into the dark, calculation-heavy tracking grids of federal behavioral profiling, weaponized rural cold cases, and the fiercely protective world of an elite federal protagonist asset running raw tactical survival loops. We are crossing the threshold directly into the hyper-monitored, fog-shrouded mountain passes of the Pacific Northwest, the exclusive procedural grid of an active multi-layered, multi-generational cover-up, and the lethal analytical parameters of an intense, closure-based survival matrix with the Forgotten Girls, the exceptional, pulse-pounding structural deployment marking the monumental 33rd entry in the globally dominant, chart-topping Blake Wilder FBI mystery thriller series, engineered by the absolute undisputed sovereign of high-velocity federal agent suspense, sharp psychological profiling, and rogue analytical statecraft, Elle Gray. This high-stakes narrative tracking sequence delivers an exceptional look at an operational crossroads where a fierce, underestimated female FBI special agent asset running an unyielding field loop, her elite team of specialized countermeasures experts running a deep archival excavation, and an absolute defense of a victim's final personal sovereignty metrics collide at terminal velocity. Let us map the strategic narrative grid. If you are an elite enthusiast of high-octane, slow-burn federal thrillers where an endangered, hyper-observant law enforcement protagonist must navigate an absolute maze of rigged jurisdictional boundaries, deep state forensic silos, and a deadly ring of active institutional gaslighting while running a blind survival loop inside a completely compromised mountain ecosystem where an analytical mind uses deep behavioral profiling, calculated ballistic boundaries, and absolute mental stamina to outmaneuver an invisible predatory killer network, and where the author utilizes an incandescent, obsessed FBI agent unearths a decades-old mountain burial ground linked to her own missing family dossier diagnostic routine to test our hero's structural limits, this book is engineered to lock you in. Gray completely dominates the high-precision behavioral analysis meets backwoods hostility dynamic, capturing the heart-racing intellectual momentum, suffocating claustrophobic panic, and heavy deductive depth popularized by genre variants like Corinne Slaughter, Lisa Gardner, Robert Dugoni, and Iris Johansson, while treating realistic federal forensic logistics, complex psychological alignment arcs, and protective high-density woodland extraction grids with absolute technical mastery. The narrative tracking grid zeroes in on the highly volatile, calculation-heavy baseline of our central legendary powerhouse asset, FBI Special Agent Blake Wilder, operating under a severe calculation-heavy handicap of deep-seated childhood trauma, the haunting historical abduction ledger of her own family network, and a hyper-visible targeting profile by the region's encroaching shadow capos. Behind Blake's rigorous database footprints and tense field report records lies an intricate matrix of hidden faction allegiances, deeply buried institutional secrets, and sharp, high-stakes tactical maneuvers. Blake's collective defense mechanisms are locked down tight behind a lifetime of tracking the nation's most twisted minds and surviving close-quarters physical ambushes, her entire analytical focus strictly consumed by monitoring sudden threat factors from rogue local law enforcement factions, parsing complex behavioral shifts from her powerful protective partner assets, and shielding her vulnerable sanctuary nodes from being entirely wiped out by a ruthless elite cleanup offensive. The spark ignites when an unexpected high-frequency structural anomaly breaches her active scanning perimeter. A series of newly discovered remains buried deep in the isolated wilderness instantly cross-references with a high-level calculated malice designed to mirror an unsolved tracking pattern from 30 years ago. As the hostile syndicate's mobilization phases enter an increasingly lethal terminal tier across the mountain towns, a series of suspicious evidence sabotage attempts, targeted witness frame-ups, and calculation-heavy winding road ambushes threaten to permanently eliminate Blake from the active federal registry. The official diagnostic metrics of the global tracking centers flash white-hot when her unauthorized investigative maneuvers and raw defensive output reveal that her fresh analytical alignment is radically, impossibly altering the underworld's historical balance of power. The standard boundaries of routine regional policing and peaceful corporate compliance protocols crumble, and our central protagonist run completely out of standard bureaucratic escape vectors. They are thrust directly into an active, invisible war spanning from federal field offices to dark timberline clearings, where deceptive local families, highly manipulative county bosses, and a calculation-heavy serial predator launch aggressive countermeasures to permanently suppress their survival data stream. The tactical parameters instantly explode as their historical and survival warfare turns completely active,
transforming the isolated hunting cabins, dark forest surveillance perimeters, and private fortified underground bunkers into a volatile psychological pressure cooker and a physical battle zone. Our protective, hyper-vigilant protagonist is forced to deploy her massive intuitive tradecraft, elite environmental mapping skills, and raw physical stamina to repair her perimeter and secure true personal advancement before the next systemic department realignment permanently deletes her mission file. When deceptive regional red herrings, corrupted local ledger logs, and calculation-heavy tactical ambushes launch aggressive plays to delete her path, her survival instincts engage their final deployment tracks. Every midnight archival excavation, every silent choice to stand off against an imposing local sheriff behind standard security barriers, and every intense moment of channeling raw, unyielding survival mechanics chips away at her reliance on original peaceful rules. What follows is an exceptional, high-stakes war of perspective, tactical position, and raw human grit. We watch the Mountain Elite's deceptive perimeters completely unwrapped as the author reveals that the true victory requires more than just surviving an initial ambush or managing a difficult interrogation. It demands an absolute, uncompromising defense of human dignity, personal truth, and systemic survival against a cold, calculating machine of institutional anonymity and high society supremacy. While our central protagonists smooth over each other's psychological and defensive blind spots with devastating analytical force, creating a fiercely protective, absolute web of dark possessive loyalty around their union, a brutal series of close-quarters tactical confrontations and high-stakes evidentiary breakthroughs shifts the clock into its terminal phase, proving that historical emotional hazards have tracked them to their final outpost. To survive the impending lock-grid trap and permanently secure her sanctuary, our resilient hero must unleash an absolute, unyielding defense of her final boundary lines. It is a federal police procedural, small-town serial killer suspense, criminal profiling drama, and high-velocity mountain war masterpiece that treats deep relational logistics and intense structural friction with elite precision. The tension here burns with a sharp, calculation-heavy intensity. We are talking about that high-frequency, one-whispered co-pilot transmission triggers a fatal cabin showdown energy, where a sudden pause during an active task force tactical briefing, an unexpected shift in an adversary's protective physical posture during a high-stakes standoff confrontation, or a heavy, possessive realization that an elite intelligence operative has completely mapped your personal coordinates carries massive structural weight. Gray writes with an exceptionally fresh, vivid, and beautifully blunt voice, perfectly capturing the heavy, oppressive atmosphere of a private executive vault before a major corporate takeover, and the distinct, subtle scent of polished mahogany, expensive gunpowder residue, damp pine needles, mountaintop frost, burning cedar, spilled copper, and pure, unadulterated suspense. What truly elevates this contemporary standalone marvel into elite territory is the author's unmatched ability to balance complex, high-stakes relationship dynamics and genuine protective power tradecraft alongside a breathtaking narrative pace and deep emotional hooks. Our protagonists don't rely on unbelievable, superficial Hollywood superhero action tropes. Their immense situational intelligence, strategic patience, and profound survival instincts match the complexity of the chaotic modern corporate and high society underworld they dominate step for step, making their choices to risk everything feel profoundly authentic and deeply gripping. The pacing moves with calculated momentum, tracking intense conversational standoffs and breathtaking tactical breakthroughs before ratcheting up to an absolute, jaw-dropping conclusion that delivers total, hard-earned advancement to their horizon. The Forgotten Girls is the definitive, pro-level upgrade your high-stakes action fiction and intense asset suspense library demands right now. It is elegant, immensely fast-paced, and utterly unput-upable. It proves that when your entire sanctuary is targeted by a cold, calculating institutional monster, the most revolutionary play you can execute is to lock your perimeters, trust your elite survival training, and fight like hell alongside your network to rewrite the data. So secure your personal reading sanctuary, review your emotional defensive perimeters, open your Kindle, and prepare to track the fleet.